Welcome to Quadrants of Mental Health. Today I have my special guest, Miss Jenise Brown. She has a program on YouTube as well, written a book. But today we're not even going to talk about her book too much. I want you to talk a little bit about it. But today we're going to talk about the Kevin Samuels controversy. Now, I said I originally wanted to do some shows about him in the future. And unfortunately, he passed on May the 5th. And now there's been a whirlwind of controversy about him and his body of work. People saying things that he did say, things that he didn't say, things that he did, things that he didn't do. So we're going to talk a lot about those things. But my main thing, because we are a mental health show, I'm going to talk about some things that nobody's talking about, okay, when it comes to Kevin Samuels. Things that people are not saying. Things that people are not looking at or pointing at, okay? So that's my whole premise with this, is just that. And one of the things that people are not saying is the fact that this man, at 56 years old, died of a heart attack. No one's saying the fact that we need to, as black men, need to go to the doctor and see what our numbers are. And I'm going to say this: I'm rooted in mental health, but I'm a conspiracy theorist as well. I believe in those things because there's too much suspect going on. Okay, so here's the thing: if you're going to put yourself out there in the public, you want to know what your baseline numbers are. Okay, and you should get checked regularly, because that way, if there's any spike in anything, it's noticeable. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, so okay,
Let's
so
see what your numbers are.
okay, so you're saying if you're going to put yourself out in public,
Yes,
you need to
you
know
definitely want to know what I'm gonna say. Get checked more often.
when you're a public figure.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like pranks.
Because you put a lot of energy, you put a lot of stress on yourself being a public figure. Your life is an open book. Everything you say, everything you do is scrutinized. So
Here's
you
my
need to be
conspiracy
healthy.
thing. That's like Michael Jackson. We can go back as far as Martin Luther King and what's his name? I can't think of his
Malcolm.
name. Malcolm. People who are in the public who get killed. I'm very cognizant of that, because I'm saying, okay, every time we get a public figure that sticks his head up, especially a black man that sticks his head up, something happens.
Well, but you're comparing Kevin Samuels.
No, I'm not comparing him to them. I'm just saying across the board, because he was never on their level. He has over a million subscribers.
So who would kill him?
Huh? Well, he has a lot of detractors. I mean, they're coming out now.
But I mean, a lot of people do. Wendy Williams have people that don't like her. You have a lot of people.
It's different when it comes to a black man and a black woman.
Well, we can argue that point, but I'm still trying to understand. You said you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I believe in it. I believe there's something behind it.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say the heart disease piece is, very important when it comes to black men. And we know that we're not talking about that enough for men or women, because they said 59% of women suffer with heart disease, African American women between the ages of 20 and I think it was 45.
Yeah.
We have heart disease, and you don't know it, but the thing that we're talking about with regards to the conspiracy part of what happened to him, I mean, he had health issues. He spoke about them previously over the years.
Yeah, he was.
And so the whole controversy around his death, like you said, a lot of people, it's controversial because they didn't believe. Some people believe that he deserved to die. Do I believe that? Absolutely not. I don't agree with a lot of the ways he put his content out.
Presentation.
I definitely don't agree, and a lot of the things that he said, I definitely didn't agree with those things. But to say that a man deserves to die the way that he did,
right,
is that's not just to me. I'm all about justice. So the conspiracy part of it, though, you feel that because he raised his head above others in his conversations. So you think that
he had numbers. His numbers were growing.
Right. So
So
why
we-
would anybody want to conspire to kill a black man talking negatively about black women? Well, we know they do that all the time, and that's glorified.
Look, no,
So
no.
who would want to?
Well, you got to remember, if you go back into FBI years ago, I can't remember his name. He said if
J. Edgar Hoover?
if I want them to have a martyr, if I want them to have a leader or a martyr, I'll give them one. You know,
So you look at him as a martyr?
No, he's not a martyr. I'm just saying, when it comes to a black man ascending to a certain level, we're going to get
But
a
what?
certain
No,
far.
he was just a social media
Yeah,
sensation.
he was. But look at
There's a lot of them out
Bill,
there.
Look at Bill Cosby too. You know, and his desire to acquire NBC.
Right.
Okay, so now he ran into some problems. Oh, now he's this, he's that. You know, anything to discredit and put down him, right? And I just saw on YouTube the other day, I'm just using it as an example too, Elon Musk, popular. Now I saw on YouTube, there was a video put out about him being accused of sexual assault.
Social
like,
media.
Okay. So it's like you get to a certain level, and then there's another devil that's going to come in and cause problems.
Well, I think what goes around comes around. And
I agree with that.
And
but
Elon
some of
Musk
those
may
things,
have done some of the things, and probably, you speak of Bill Cosby.
He may have done something.
Everybody has done some things.
Right.
It's just that now we have social media. Those things can be polarized right then and there and sensationalized to blow it up to the point of getting back to Kevin Samuels. He had a lot of followers. He was making some money. He had a lot of people that disagreed with him. He had a lot of people that agreed with him.
And you know what they disagreed with him about?
What is it?
Presentation. They never said that his facts were wrong and error. They never questioned
I
the facts.
disagree. I totally disagree with that.
I'm just telling you because he always quoted.
What facts? Give me a fact.
He always quoted, go to blackdemographics.com.
Okay.
Blackdemographics.com, for black people, by black people. That was mainly his source a lot of times in this material. And when you go there, okay, the numbers are there. But when it comes to anecdotal responses or how women would say how they feel,
blackdemographics.com gave him the unction to say that women over 35 are trash.
Okay. That's out of context.
You saying presentation? No, I heard the whole thing.
Okay, so tell me the whole thing.
Well, I'm not gonna give it. You're giving the stage to Kevin Samuels. I'm giving you my side to the reason why I don't believe he needs to be in a category with J. Edgar Hoover purposefully targeting African American males who were doing things in a way that were bringing unity in the community.
Right.
What Kevin Samuels was doing was not bringing unity in the community. If anything, they would love for him to still be out here living right now because he was continuing to create a divide between African American women and African American men, which is the way that they keep our communities divided.
The divide is already there. He was pointing out the divide.
Keeping it wide, widening the divide.
No, what he was doing in
35-year-old women over the age of 35.
It's out of context.
You know, if you want a baller, you need to make yourself presentable to have one. How was that content? Him taking the demographics, I'm not saying he didn't use the demographics, but he took it out of context. He took the demographics out of context. Everything that he said was taken out of context. If he brought it from the demographics.
I agree.
Everything he was presenting was presented in an out of context way, sensationalizing the content so he could get the numbers.
Oh, you're saying that the content was taken out of
context. He took the content and turned it into something he used to create a platform for people to give him for YouTube to give him the money they give for people being on, for certain people who ascribe to the notion or the unction that you have to be a certain type of woman or a certain type of woman in a certain type of way to get a certain type of man. I don't think any conversation that he has, I think you need to be your own person first and not disagree with what?
With you in what he said about marriage and
hot. Got me. This is a hot topic. I'm serious. It got me hot up here. So go ahead.
You disagree with that? See.
Do I disagree with the fact that women,
that 35-year-old thing, people take that out of context. You gotta look at the context.
Well, we can actually. I wish I had it pulled up right now because we could show it. But I'm gonna add that in.
Edit it to the point where we can show.
We're gonna show that particular clip when he talks about
making that one statement.
No, absolutely not.
Because if you look at the whole 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and see, that's
I'm
what a lot of people
not going to look at the whole 20, 30 minutes.
That's what a lot of people do when it came to him.
That's giving too much airtime. I'm sorry.
But that's what a lot of people do when it came to him.
Rest in peace,
they
brother.
They will look at. I give you an example. You know the video that made him famous?
You told me about it.
The one that he said that she was average at best. It went to World Star. It got a lot of views to it, right?
A lot of views. Right. A lot of people watching.
Right.
A lot of sensationalism.
So here's the thing.
Out of context.
It was taken out of context.
His whole content was out of context.
You know, let me finish. Here's what he said. She called into his show on a day that he had another topic. She inserted herself in. She wanted to address her issues and talk about her thing. He said, okay, this is not what we're talking about tonight, but we're going to go there. Okay, he went there with her. He was talking to her. And no matter what he said, she wasn't trying to hear it. Because it was a yeah, but, right? So that's why he made that comment, right? So if you had gone back and looked at the whole show, most of the time, most people don't. We'll look at a segment, or because right now with YouTube, we can be doing something right now, right? Somebody will edit this and just edit out 30 seconds of what we said, and then that's a whole show for somebody to talk about and comment. Okay, so that's what happens a lot of times, and people will look at that and look at the edited comments. No. They won't go back and look at the whole show in its context.
Well, I went back. I didn't watch that whole show that you told me about.
What did you hear him say?
Well, I went back on YouTube.
He said about 35.
I went on YouTube.
Right. What was that show about?
I don't know what the whole show was about. It's not, but because anytime if you were to say to me, I don't give a freak what you're talking about. You don't ever have to say a woman over 35 is trash. You don't never have to say those words together. That sentence right there should not even been in there.
So that one sentence negated everything.
No, it doesn't. I didn't say it negated everything that he said.
You don't even know what he said.
But his content, taking the fact that maybe 30 women over 35 who haven't had children, who haven't been married, who have a certain level of their own stability, may not be in a good position to have the relationship that they want. I agree with that. I certainly agree with that if you haven't positioned yourself in a way. But to use the word trash, now, granted, my grandkids use the word trash. They talk to each other and they say, what you doing? Oh man, you trash. It's like a urban dictionary, urban slang that's being used.
And he used it,
however,
but he was wrong.
No, I didn't say he used
it.
But what I'm saying is, when you take that with everything else, like I said, I'm not just taking that one piece of context from there. No, I'm talking about, I went back and listened to a lot of the YouTube videos on his page.
Wow. I love this.
I went back and listened to a lot of other things that he has said, bringing everything together.
Okay.
And the way he presented his content, the way he present, like you said, it was presentation that people didn't like. His presentation created a bigger divide in the community than it brought it together. Because most of the people that agreed with him, take a look at some of their backgrounds and stuff. You have a lot of chauvinistic people. You have a lot of women who don't have appreciation for.
But there were women who agreed with him.
I know. I'm getting ready to tell you, those women that agreed with him, in my opinion, women that agreed with the way he was presenting his content for our community, if you support that type of presentation, then maybe they are the people that he needed to be calling trash. I'm just going to put it out there like that. Because first and foremost, if you are trying to bring a community together, and maybe that wasn't his objective, his objective may have been exactly what it was.
What do you think his objective was?
To become a YouTube sensation, sensationalizing certain things. So he was born a woman, so he had a mother. I believe his platform was for him to build a following. Most people that are doing that, they want that attention. Like us doing this show right now, we want people to follow. Like, share, because sharing is caring. You need to share AJ's show. You need to like it, and you need to subscribe, because guess what happens? The more subscribers you get, the more money you can make. And then if you start making donations, we can even stay on longer, because all of this stuff, you got to pay for lights, you got to pay for this, you got to pay for that. So, therefore, his YouTube, what he was doing was creating his brand. And his brand, quite frankly, he might not even believe half of the stuff that he said. And as a man,
demographics.com.
But he was taking that content.
How was he taking
and repurposing it for his own benefit?
He was taking the demographics, just like he said, 80% of divorces.
Let me pull it up right now. I'm gonna pull Black demographics up right now. I'll tell you, there's nothing on there that says women over 35 are trash. I bet you that's not on there.
That's not on there.
Okay.
But you gotta remember, he said a whole lot of other things other than that.
He would get women on there who already probably have self-esteem issues and just rag on them.
There's something wrong with the women.
No, I'm saying self-esteem issues, we all have it, but some people have it more deep than everybody else.
Those are the only women that got on his show, and those are the only women that like the show.
I'm not going to say that was only. Okay. I'm not going to say only. But anytime you look to a man like that to give you advice about how you need to be, then something is lacking.
Why is that one statement?
It's not that one statement
about the 35 over 35 have emboldened or has caused so many women to be upset. I
don't know if I'm not even upset. I find it funny because I saw a lot of men take that clip and turn it around to tell black women, tell women they don't have to believe that. I think it became sensationalized because it was because somebody, men took that clip and actually, disputed the fact of what he said. So I think it became popular because on Instagram, there's a couple of clips on Instagram. I actually reposted one on my storyline.
Did you
go
see
to
Jenise
Justice IG.
Did you see his T.I. interview?
His T.I. interview?
Yeah, the interview he did. Did you see the interview he did with Vlad?
I did. I saw some of it. I've never watched the entire. I wouldn't give him a whole time. Okay. But I would watch at least 15, 20. Come on, in 15 or 20 minutes you can get a lot.
But I
don't have to watch a whole hour of your rhetoric to know it's rhetoric. I mean, come on.
You get a lot so that you can form an opinion, right?
Median age % compared to males.
You can watch enough content of somebody to form an opinion and have an opinion about something. But if you don't watch his whole whole body of work, it's difficult for you to say that he's wrong if you haven't watched the whole
thing. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying the way he presented his content, he created a divide.
I disagree.
He created a divide in our community.
You know why? You know why I think he didn't create a divide? You know why I disagree with that?
Go for it.
Because we are doing this show right now. More and more black men and women are having conversations now than ever before.
Well, I don't think that's
even
credit.
Yes,
he may have added to it, but the truth be told, I've been having conversations with black men unifying us for a long time. We didn't need Kevin Samuels coming in.
I'm saying
more than we need our show.
What
was her name? Shahrazad Ali.
Yes, he likes her work too.
I know. I read her work back in the day. And when she was telling black men they need to smack women in the mouth.
She disagreed with that too.
I disagree with you having to smack anybody in the mouth. Right. Taken out of context, like you said, taken out of context, she had some very valid points that she was making, but that statement in and of itself, without
Did that negate everything else she said?
No.
Okay.
I didn't say Kevin Samuels using black demographics.
One thing and say
that's not what I said. Y'all know that's not what I said.
All of this doesn't matter. It's like, okay, well, let's look at I'm just saying, don't.
His body of let's look at all of the other things that I watched that he created.
And you don't even have to look at just his program. There are other programs on there as well.
Well, we're talking about him.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but they all.
This is what his whole life was about. Now, in his death. in his death, he's still becoming
because
he's getting more likes, he's getting more dislikes,
and do you remember?
And it's going to keep going, and somebody's going to benefit from that.
When he first started, who did he talk to?
I didn't know about him before you told me about him, because I had
all of
heard
it. If you
about
go
him.
back and look at all his old videos, they were all talking to men, and he said the exact same stuff to men as he said to women.
Well, of course, a man who wants to think that,
deviate at all,
that he doesn't have to change himself, but the woman has to do
only
all the work. They're going to really like that.
If you go back and look at his body of work, I'm saying,
I know he said some relevant things. He had some relevant content.
He talked to men
I'm not
the
saying
same
that
way.
He didn't.
He talked to men the same way.
But the way that...
But because he said certain things to women that was abrasive to them or offensive to them, he's trash.
No, he said that they were trash. But look, check this out. Would you talk to your kid? Isn't there a certain way in your quadrants of mental health?
Right.
Quadrant Family Services, in your business, the work that you do with your company,
100%.
There's a certain way that you engage with children in order to create a relationship.
Yes, with my children.
And it's a certain way in those relationships when you have disordered families that are in disarray, that you have to communicate with the parents, you got to communicate with the kids.
But that's not that platform, though. Those are not his kids.
Exactly. So my whole point is, when you asked me what was his objective, it was to create the platform that he wanted to create, and he didn't care.
Yes, he
did not care who liked it or didn't like it.
You know what he promoted?
He was doing him.
You know what he promoted a lot.
So I mean, I ain't mad at him for doing him.
You know what he promoted a lot on there?
No.
Mental health services. Women getting mental health services.
Women getting mental health.
And men. Like I said, you gotta remember.
This is what I'm working with over here.
Remember, I told you his first 3 or 4 years, he only talked to men. He did not deviate from his process. He said, you need therapy.
Yeah, so
he would tell men they need therapy. You need, because we need it in the black community.
Well, I believe the direction he was going in.
Everything he said to women, he had been saying to men for years.
The thing that I see is that he created a platform. He was building. It's like building any brand that you want. Whatever his objective was, to create a brand. And what was that mission? I don't know his mission statement. I don't know his goals. I don't know his objectives. But what I do know about becoming
marriages
personality.
8 people got married based on his material.
A lot of people got married on some Jodeci songs too. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
A lot of babies were made too. So what are you saying?
Wow. So he promoted families. He promoted marriage. And one of the things that he talked a lot about is this: women give access to sex. Right? Would you agree? Women determine if they're going to have sex.
True.
Men determine if they're going to get married. Right? Now, the bigger part of what he was trying to get women to see is, you want the ring, you want to get married, but do you know what the man wants? And they said, you know what they said? Most of them said, I don't care what he wants. He has to just accept me for how I am.
Okay.
I had that conversation with my daughter. I said, and she's 21 years old. Her friend was there. You know, and she said, you're right, Dad, we don't care what y'all want. But you give access to sex. You can have sex with as many men as you want, because men will have sex with you. But that don't mean they'll put a ring on your finger. So if I want the ring, then I need to determine, what do I need to do to get the ring?
So blackdemographics.com say that most women respond to that question like your daughter did? Or is that just a percentage?
We're having a conversation now about that.
Okay.
I'm not saying I didn't mention black demographics about that.
Okay.
I'm saying that, but a lot of women.
A lot of women.
A lot of women. Okay. A lot of women.
A lot of women may believe that.
A lot of women don't care what a man thinks.
Well,
you know, they don't. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, on a whole.
I'm not saying all. I'm not saying. I didn't say
on a whole other level, I don't care what anyone thinks, but that has to do that. But
and you have a right. You have a right to feel that way. But like Kevin would say, the world does not owe you understanding.
Exactly, it doesn't.
You know. So in other words, whatever energy you put out there, when you get it back, you got to say, you know what? I'm the originator or the creator of this process. And if I'm not getting the outcomes that I want, then I need to say, well, maybe I need to change my energy.
Well, then again,
and that's one of the things he was saying, because a lot of women.
But he wasn't saying that like that, AJ. You're interpreting.
I'm listening
you're
to
interpreting
you.
what you're saying.
And here's the problem.
Maybe he needed to be a better speaker.
You got a majority of women. You have a majority of women who wanted that 1% man. He said, well, what about the 56% man who makes $50,000? Mm-hmm. We don't want him. We want that 1% man. But now you got 99% of women wanting the 1% man. So F the 99% of men. We're trash. We're not even worth it because we're too short, too ugly, too this, too that. We want that 1% man because when I get my ring and I have your baby, I'm not going to work.
Well, the truth be told, that dynamic was created by a man. And we can say,
how is that created by men?
White America. White America set up. White America.
This is what women have been telling him.
White
I want
America,
the ring, but I don't want to work.
But the whole dynamic, my whole point is getting back to it was set up by a society that we live in.
What was set up? Then what was set up?
The whole fact that what
was
set up is that the man. You said that 99% of the women want that 1% of man, right? That has all of this, has all of that, has all of that. He's too short. They don't want him because he's this. Well, that's the way it's been for women all along. The guys, the men have always wanted the skinnier ones. Whatever society said was the image of what a woman should be, that's what the men wanted for a long time.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because we were raised in a white supremacist society. No. Yes, it is. AJ.
Men are physical.
The establishment of what beauty looks like.
Men are physical.
I ain't talking about that. The establishment of what it looks like when it comes to finance.
First thing I look at is physical.
AJ, but what I'm trying to get to when it comes to financial stability in this country. Men don't care about your money. Men don't care. Men don't care about your money, but they care that you got to look a certain way, you got to dress a certain way, you got to. So that's not just physical.
Am I wrong because I'm physical?
If you had never been told that big breast or big booty was a sexy thing,
tell me that.
Okay, but a lot of people, a lot of the images that are out there about women.
That before.
But listen,
before it was popular.
But you're missing my point. The image of what a man wanted to have on his arms moving forward, a man that's in that 1% demographic, has always been an image of a certain body type, a certain look, a certain everything. And it fluctuates.
What do you think that is?
What do I think it is?
What do you think that Kevin called him high value man? What do you think that image of the man looks like?
That image of him? What do you mean?
What do you think the man that's when we say that 1% man, what do you think he looks like? Not what he looks for, but what do you think he looks like?
Well, when it comes to black men, they across the board. You can find that 1% demographic. They don't have like one look. They're not all athletes. Some of them have construction businesses. Some of them have car dealerships. Some of them are attorneys. So they have different, that 1% is there. Yeah. It exists. But when it comes to a society that says a woman needs to look a certain way, I think the problem, which makes your point valid, that 99% are looking for that 1%, is because a lot of black women have bought into the idea of what they need to look like instead of who they need to be.
I disagree with
instead of who they need to be.
Because you know what? Here's something real too that may shock you a little bit too. The average man, not just the high value man, we don't care about fake hair and fake nails.
Absolutely not.
We don't. And my daughter even told me we don't do that for you.
Absolutely not.
You know who they do that for?
But AJ, they do it for each other.
They do it for each other. So it ain't about me and what I want.
No, it's not. But the point is,
about we doing it for our girlfriends so that we can make our.
But the division between young black women, let's say your daughter's age, and young black men, your daughter's age, is that she has been raised in a society, in an environment that perpetuates that divide, that says, I don't need no guy, I don't need no man. I had one girl tell me that, I don't need no man in my life. I'm like,
where did it come from? Where did it start?
I think it started in the home. It started in the history of our people in this country. it started in that men being removed from the household a long time ago. It didn't just start yesterday. It started in the 60s when we started, when we became segregated.
When we took the money, when the women started taking the money and kicking the men out.
And when society started perpetuating the fact that the black woman needs to step it up, and then because the black man ain't no good, he's in jail, he's got too many women, he's doing this, and then they bought into that, and again, still a mother taught it to her daughter, to somebody else's daughter, and the media takes it on, and you get all these images, and now you have your daughter saying, "We do it for us. We don't care what they want." I don't agree with her position, but I understand.
That's why I ask questions.
I understand it.
Seek first to understand, then
right.
Understood. So I ask questions. But here's the thing.
But if you want a man, what getting back to Kevin Samuels, your daughter wanted to be with someone that may be that high value person, but she don't feel like I need to do anything to get that.
What's wrong with the average guy? That's my question. What's wrong with the average guy?
I'm okay. I'm not okay with average.
What's wrong with that?
I'm not okay with average. I'm not okay with average for myself.
But they're average people.
Some people are okay with average. Some people are okay.
If you look at the numbers and you look at the
Agent, now before you go there, average mean I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being average. Yeah, I'm not saying anything is wrong with it. I'm on the other side of average.
If you look at the people that are in the bell curve,
you got some people that don't want to
there are more
even be
people in the bell curve than outside of the bell curve.
Right.
So I'm saying, what's wrong with those people that we're gonna say we don't want you? We want that 1% that's all the way at the far extreme of that bell curve.
Because we want more, but in order to get more, you have to be more.
You have to bring more.
Exactly. So if I want to be average and operate in average space, it's okay for me to do that. I get what I put out.
But what's wrong with you or I just starting with average?
I'm okay.
Not saying that he is going to make $1 million in 2 years, or he's going to become a billionaire. Mm-hmm. But what's wrong with the man who can go to work, pay his bills, save for retirement, buy his house, buy his cars, take care of his family? That's not the man that most women want.
I don't know if I agree with that.
We want the man who can go on vacation to Africa. We want to go on vacation every year. We want to not have to work. We want a maid. We want to, these are the things that women have been saying on his show. That's what they want. I said, but he would ask him, so what are you doing to get that man? What are you bringing to that man to say, I want to pick you over the 99 other women that's doing the same thing, that want him too?
Okay, in that conversation.
They all want him, but they're not what are they doing that's saying? And then most of the men who are in that level, if you follow them and they're especially on their trajectory of success, a lot of them have the girlfriend from high school or middle school, the same girl, same woman. Mm-hmm. Right? They knew him when he didn't have, and they appreciate him because they do have it, right? Mm-hmm. But now we don't want to go through that struggle with that man. We want him already there. That's not I want him now.
But see, the generation that he talks about a lot. He was speaking to is that younger generation. It's not because what has happened. Let me say with my generation, a lot of because I'm single, and I chose to be single.
Compete a lot with the younger generation.
I don't know if they compete. Well, some of them probably. I don't.
For men, there are a lot of older women dating younger men these days.
I think that's been going on forever. Yeah. There ain't nothing new. But here's the thing: it doesn't matter what age you are. You have to know and establish. You have to establish who you want to be and what you want in the world, and you have to be it before it actually manifests. If you're not it, it's not going to come to you.
But you said it doesn't matter what age you are. Okay. So, do you believe that there is a biological clock that women have?
A biological clock when it comes to how everybody has a clock.
When it comes to
carrying children and stuff like that.
So when you
reproduction.
When it comes to reproduction, is there a biological clock?
Yeah.
For a woman?
Yeah, I believe that.
Is the biological clock different for a man when it comes to producing children?
When you say different, what do you mean different?
In that,
can
an 80-year-old man still have a child?
Yes.
Okay, but can an 80-year-old woman still have a child?
So it's happened.
Okay.
How often does it happen?
We're talking about the norm.
So we're talking about reproduction now. I don't think there's an
80-year-old
80-year-old woman who really wants to have a child. But
I'm trying to make a point. So,
okay.
so if we know that age 35 is geriatric pregnancy, meaning once she gets past 35, she is at high risk of dying or the baby dying.
Okay.
Right. So what's happening in the Black community a lot of times is women are waiting to have the relationship and then have the children beyond that point, where it can be a high risk to them. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree. I agree that they wait. Some of them wait way too long.
So if they're waiting to have children beyond that threshold, where the doctors, medical science says you're in geriatric pregnancy now, that you are at high risk of having health problems, the baby having health problems, the baby having all these things go on. So if you were a man that wanted to get married, would you marry the 36-year-old or would you marry the 26-year-old?
If you're a man that wants to have children,
which one would you marry?
You can't use me. I'm just going to use you talking average.
Logically,
he would choose the 20-something.
Okay. Because see, I was in that situation. I was dating someone who was 15 years older than me. Right? She told me I can't have kids. Right?
But you wanted kids.
And I wanted kids.
Okay. So
I had to make a decision, right?
All right. So what are you saying? So I had
to leave that relationship, and I met someone who was 3 years younger than I was at the time, and we had kids.
Okay.
Okay. So when he talks about, Kevin was talking about women being trash, that means at 35 years old, 36 years old, you're not going to be as appealing, he called it a sexual marketplace, as a woman who's younger. But now you take that woman who's 26,
men
27.
have always wanted the younger. It ain't had nothing to do with reproduction.
Yes, it does.
You just said that we just
does have something to do with reproduction.
We just like
it does have a lot to do with reproduction.
I don't think it all has. I think maybe
I'm
for
saying
you,
when it comes to
not the average.
When it comes
I don't think for the average guy.
When it comes to having children, men look at that. If I wanted to be a father,
to having children, some men don't want children either.
And you might be right about that. You may be right about it. 50, he said 56% of men are not married now. Black men not married. Okay, but that don't mean they don't want to be or would not want to be a father. But we know the majority of them now really don't want to be the father or a stepfather, because there's no honor really in being a stepfather. You're going to raise somebody else's kids when you don't get benefits.
As we're talking, having this conversation, I can't help but go into the whole idea of what the whole thing of, because we have been indoctrinated to believe this is this, that is that, that is that.
No.
We take
facts and data.
But the whole thing is
it's not about how I feel.
Well, you need to take that into. That's the problem.
Wow.
How you feel has been taken out of it. Data doesn't. Data is not how you need to be living your life.
But
I know for this conversation, that's what we're talking about. But
if I know statistically that a 40-year-old woman is not going to give me 10 kids, then I have to consider that. If I know statistically that at 35 we're going to be at high risk.
Well, children are important to you, AJ. Obviously, they are, because you have a football team.
Right. I have 6.
But you're speaking for those men that who want to have children. I got you.
Who want to have children.
Because there's more to life. You know, I love my children.
I agree. But there's more to life. But what I'm saying is, because I'm working out.
There's a lot of children that need fathers like you.
Exactly.
Because you're a good dad.
There's a guy I'm working out now with.
He's
like 33. Thank you. Okay. A guy who's 33, I'm working out with him. He's saying, yeah, I want to get a 26-year-old or 23-year-old. He's 33. He said, I don't want a woman older. I can get a woman that's older, but I prefer one younger because I want to leave my seed. So he has to consider that.
Right.
But what I'm saying a lot of times is women don't care how he thinks.
That's unfortunate.
It is. And you know what's sad?
Because I'm not in that category, right. So it's like.
Right. But the sad part about it is a lot of times you get lost because you're female. And I know you, so I understand what you're saying. But the thing is, when it comes down to it, if you don't know what he wants or what he desires, you can just say, here, take that.
I'm gonna say, look, I'll marry you. I'm not having your kids. You can go ahead and have kids with somebody else, and we be good. But that's me. I'm not your average female.
Okay.
So
that's rare air.
it's rare, and I've had the concept ever since I was young.
Right.
But it is rare air because I actually live in a different space. But what you're talking about, I understand. I agree with you.
Most women
I
don't
agree with
know
you.
what men value. And the sad part about it, that's why I think with Kevin, he's really created a platform for us to have these conversations out.
It was already out there. He contributed to. You're
Out.
saying he contributed to the conversation.
Right.
He added his spin and his contribution to conversation.
You remember? Now this is local. I'm gonna bring it to local. You remember a guy named August Moon?
Of course. Okay. That's Angelique's dad.
Yeah. Okay. People loved August Moon when he was on public access, right? People also loved my show. I was doing a show then called Problems and Solutions, right? Mm-hmm. But when it came to talking, I had more people come to me and talk to me because of him than if I had just been doing the show by myself. It was like the yin and the yang. They saw him, and he was in your face. If I smell it, I'm gonna tell it.
Because everybody has a position.
And here I am. Here I am, right here, just as calm and neutral.
So you're saying he set you up to get people to have conversations.
And I had conversations with people, and you know what I would tell them? Here, read this book. Here, have you thought about this? Because back then, I'm listening to Louis Farrakhan. I'm pro-black. I'm for the movement. But the way I presented it, if he hadn't have been there, I don't think I would have been as effective. Because I literally had bosses when I worked in corporate America, vice presidents of the company. I would go in there. They would watch it. They would say, AJ, come talk to me. I sit in there for an hour, 2 hours talking to him about what's going on in public access. That I would not have. No.
Because I was around those days.
Trying to understand why he was so this and why I was that. And I was able to get them, even with when a guy who was in Amway with me. I'll put this out there. Have you read The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson?
Somebody asked you that?
No, I asked him that.
Oh.
He had never heard of it. I said, well, you read that book and come talk to me. He went and read the book. He said, AJ, I understand. See, if it wasn't for the August Moon, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I look at Kevin Samuels like the August Moon type. If it wasn't for him doing what he's doing, there would not be the multitude of platforms out there now that can do what we're doing now.
Okay.
And that's not going to be as
he
effective.
contributed. I didn't say he didn't have a contribution to the
whole point. I might not say I don't like his presentation.
Content that's
I might not like
there.
the way he said things, but he got us talking about things that are important because men are physical. And if you can try to effeminate me all you want to, but I'm still gonna be a man. I'm physical. I'm going to be visual. I'm visual and I'm physical. That's it. And if you can understand that about me, then if you want to marry me or you want to be in my space, then you have to know and recognize that I'm physical and I'm visual. So what do I want physically and visually? So
getting back to
that's the question.
Statement.
What do I want physically and visually? But women would say, I don't care what you want.
And what do you say? So what you're saying to women that say that is if they really want, let's just move Kevin to the side for a minute and talk about AJ. In your dialogue,
not just AJ.
As far as your show, as far as helping people, because this all goes into developing a strong mental health, a strong person, and that's what you do, because you do the we call it 4 quadrants, but you have actually a lot of areas that you touch on and bringing the whole person to one. So a young lady who says, I don't care what he wants. I'm doing this for me. I don't care. Mm-hmm. Is that young woman still the same person that's saying I want a man? Is she saying what she's doing is contradictions within herself? And what I can tell you is going to happen as she gets older.
What's going to happen?
What happens is she starts getting closer to that age you're talking about, where you get into geriatric, and about around that time, she's going to start understanding that I need to pay attention to what I'm presenting and what I'm putting out and what he wants. So and then she's going to change it up.
No.
And then she's going to end up being 50, saying, I haven't had the life that I wanted to have yet.
That's trash, that men don't want that trash, that he's wrong for saying that. Because it is.
You're putting
something on my plate and said, you need to eat this. And he said, that's trash. I don't want that. That's basically what he said, but he's wrong because of the way he said it. And
presentation. It's like presentation is everything.
But it's the truth.
Even when you eat
I'll
food,
give you an example. I was dating a young lady. We had a great relationship. Wonderful. She was overweight. She said, I want to lose weight. We started working out. She gained weight. What's going on? We eat the same food. We do, I can say maybe it's a genetic component to it. Because, I don't judge people by their weight. I'm going to look at you health-wise first. If you're not healthy, your doctor say you're not healthy, you say you need to lose weight, then you need to do everything you can to do that. Mm-hmm. When you don't do that, that's telling me you're not really trying to be healthy. Because when I went and got my numbers, after my cousin passed away, I went and got my numbers, I lost 20 pounds.
Yeah, because you took action.
Because I'm saying, I'm not going. But I'm just saying, if I can do it for me, then I want people in my space to do that. And when she didn't do that, hold on. When she didn't do it, you know what I said to her? I said, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate you for being who you are. And you know what I told her? But at this point, we can be friends. I don't want to marry you.
Okay.
And she didn't believe me. I said it 3 times. Appreciate you being honest. I accept you for who you are as a friend. But marrying you, I can't see us happy.
Did you tell her why you didn't want to marry her?
Why?
Did you tell her because she wasn't taking care of herself?
Yes. And I said, your number one job is to take care of you. That's the one thing I can't do.
Okay. Well, see, Kevin wasn't telling people that.
Okay. But like I said, Kevin has given the...
Because in the beginning you said presentation. He was taking the content and the way he presented it. There's a place for all of this. There's a place for every kind of thing you want to put out there.
He got 1.2 million people following. We can't say it didn't work. Based on outcomes, it worked. But he also, because of what he did, the extreme of him, it also brought in other people who have a milder disposition, who are able to explain and talk, such as myself.
And the conversations were already happening. There's 1.some million compared to the percentage of people in the world. That's really a small number. But
wait, but if you look at the dollars that it was bringing, it won't small.
That's why he was doing it.
I would do it too.
Okay, so now we get back to what was his brand.
His whole purpose was to create conversation.
You know what it is? His purpose was to build a brand. God's purpose was for him to create conversation. I don't think he set out thinking about anything other than making money doing this. I disagree. And I don't know, because I don't know him.
I disagree.
But there was a bigger plan for his life. There was a bigger plan for his life, because in his passing, conversations, like you said, are happening. So whatever his plan was on this earth was not what the Creator had.
It's one thing for me to have a conversation with my friends, right? It's one thing to have a conversation at the barbershop, or I call my cousin and we vent to one another. But now I'm able to articulate that same type of conversation across boundaries. Because one thing that, he talks a lot about feminism. People got to understand, men and women are not the same. We would never be equal.
With what?
We can't.
Equal in what way?
Because there are certain things, aspects of life that you are good at and you can do, and there's certain things that I'm good at.
Well, equal rights. You're talking
about
talking
being. About right. I'm talking about. Okay.
Equal. I can't be a man. You can't be a woman.
Exactly.
Okay. And whatever that means.
You know what that also means?
And all of that.
Physically and emotionally. Because when it comes down to it, you can't teach my son how to be a man better than I can. But you know what? Women will try to do that.
Yeah, that started.
Women will try to do that.
When I was in my 20s, I think.
And they will keep that child from that man.
I saw a lot of that happening.
And then that child becomes effeminate or soft, and then you wonder why he won't leave your house. And that man now is looking for another girl that he can go and live with. Weaken him. And I remember when Chris was young.
That's a good point.
My son
I
Chris
talk
was
about that.
when my son Chris was a baby, right? Chris would drink his bottle and throw it across the room. His mama would say, "Oh, Chris, why are you doing this to me?" She'd run and pick the bottle up. I looked at Chris, and I said, "Oh no, this is gonna stop here." Because see, I saw the control. I saw him learning to control. She said, "Oh, you so hard on him." I said, "No, he's a boy. He's a man. I'm telling you how men think." She didn't want to hear that. At 12 years old, Chris got up in her face. Like he was going to smack his mama. And I said, "Come here." I said, "Don't you ever, as long as you black, I don't want to ever see you get in any woman's face like that." So had I not been there and had my presence been not felt, my son Chris would be a different person.
So, well, taking that right there, you said women allowing their sons to not be men or not being able to teach them how to be men.
It's hard.
Do you consider that a part of the emasculation of men?
The emasculation. The
men.
emasculating of men.
Of
Most
men.
definitely. It started in the 60s.
And so here...
It started in the 60s.
And why do you think, this is a question I'm asking you, but I'm going to answer it too. Why do you think, I don't know if you heard lately, I think it's probably maybe like 3 weeks ago, maybe going to Sheena Arnold made a comment to women, black women, telling them, something with regards to stop participating in the emasculation of black men. And they jumped on her case. Sheena Arnold from Shanae Martin. Sheena was
yeah, I know who you're talking about now, but I never saw that video. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know who you never watched Martin?
Yes, that was his nemesis, the girl that he was always back and forth with.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about, but I said I never saw that.
Oh, it was on Twitter, Black
dragged
Twitter. And so she got dragged for that statement. And when I read it, I was like, why are they dragging her? Because the only thing she said was stop participating in it. Because black women do participate in it. And some of them unknowingly. Because, I know...
emasculation of man, period.
And I would honestly say that if you don't know how to raise a male child and you're trying to do that and you haven't got any kind of training, taught, or whatever, you're not going to do a good job. So you indirectly participate in it. But then there are some women who make the comments, "I don't need no man, I can do this."
Right.
Then that becomes a whole nother conversation because that creates him living in your house when he's 20, 30 years old. And then looking for somebody else to take care of him. And then you got some young lady like your daughter saying, "I don't care what you want." So then he's...
Exactly. So you create a problem that continues to perpetuate itself. Right. And now it's gone in full bloom. You got a man, I saw, I know, Yana, she did a program. There were 4 men. Mm-hmm. 4 men had 80 children. One of the men had 27. No, he had 34 kids. One man had 34 kids. Mm-hmm. And won't take care of them. To me, that's a male.
He's a breeder.
Right.
He's a sperm.
But my question is not that he was that way. I'm saying, what is it about you that attracted you to that? When you knew that was there. When you knew that he had 2 kids by 2 other men.
He was suave. He knew how to lay
but see, the thing is, but that's
all
that's
that
what
don't
I
mean nothing. Honestly,
it goes back to what I said earlier. Mm-hmm. Women give access to sex. If I can charm your panties off you, right, and you don't require anything other than that of me, then of course I'm going to take that. But if you say, hey, if you want to have sex with me, we're going to be planning a relationship. We're going to be planning family. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that for you. Yeah, you sure? Okay, now I'm having a different conversation with you about family. But if you say, hey, come and get it. I saw a program this morning. The man said, out of 100 dudes you have in your phone, if you call, text them all right now and say, hey, come get some, how many of them will come? She said 100%. Isn't that crazy? And I said,
that's true.
Now, hold on. He said, flip it. If I was to do that, how many of you think would call me? If I say I got some deep for you tonight, come get some. Very low.
Well, I don't know, AJ. In this society right
It's not
now,
going to be 100%.
it's gonna be a high percentage because I've run into the situation where
It's not gonna
this
be 100%.
generation. Well, there's a lot of young ladies out here who are okay with that.
And you know why?
Even having one guy with several women.
You know
That's
why?
that's an okay thing now.
Why? You know why? Can I tell you why? I'm going to go spiritual on you with this one, but I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go spiritual, but
I mean, I was okay with that idea when I was in.
Here's the fallacy.
Not for the sexual
Here's
aspect.
the fallacy of
It's
relationships, and this is where we fall down at the most. Okay, at one time, 1940s, 1950s, up until the 60s, the church was the powerhouse in the community. It was very influential.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it came to political power, or if a family needed something, the church was a network, right? The Bible in Titus, if you go back and read the book of Titus, it says that the older women teach the younger women how to love their husbands, right?
Right.
And you know what the one thing that we're not doing these days? The older women are not teaching the younger women how to love their husbands. The older women are competing with the younger women.
Right. I see that being a factor too.
Okay, so you agree with that?
I don't know about this. You keep saying they're competing.
They're competing for that young man, for the attention of him. Because
don't nobody want no young man who.
Look,
okay. Let me take me out of the equation.
Exactly.
I'm gonna take me out of that equation.
You can call that young man. You could be 40 years old. If you want a 25-year-old man and you look good, that 25-year-old man is gonna be with it. If you are 50 years old and you want a 25-year-old man and you look good, because men are physical and visual.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now, if you 400 pounds and you think you're gonna get a 21-year-old or 18-year-old, probably not.
So when you say competing with, for instance,
competing
people always tell me I look.
Attention.
How are they in competition?
For his time and attention for that man.
So there's a group of women that do that, because I don't know any women that are doing that.
There are women
that are competing with the younger woman for the younger man.
Hey, and here's how we compete sometimes.
I don't understand
Here's how we compete. When I don't teach my young daughter to value herself, but I allow her to be used and abused by men, but I can go and get that same man myself. That's competing.
Those women right there, AJ, they need to be in a class
I'm going to pull that young girl aside and say,
give me their names and numbers. I need to talk to these women.
Let me teach you. Because, like I said, when I talk to them, I say, do you know what men want? And I get crickets.
I need to start teaching.
But if I ask a young woman, well, what do you want? I can get a whole book on what they want. So what kind of man do you need to attract that's going to help you to get those things? They can't.
Well, most of them don't even know what they want. Honestly, they
have an idea of what they want, but they don't know
really.
what I want. When I say I, me as a man, they don't know what I want. They don't.
Well, most of the things that they identify with what wanting are things of the material nature. But truth be told, the biggest problem is you take it to the Bible, I take it back to the Spirit. You need to get in tune with that part of yourself, because otherwise you just want what everybody else wants. So like you said, they need people to teach them. And so you say in the church, because I know some women who went to the church, looked to the church, within the church for the women, and the women taught them some things that kept them in relationships with this man that was abusive.
Okay, but that's
so they don't trust it.
They don't. Not teaching them. That's not good teaching.
But what I'm saying is they've taken the whole
you don't have
traditional Bible thing.
Yeah.
The lights,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing you gotta keep in mind. If I'm teaching, right, then I'm going to teach you what perfect love is. So if I know what perfect love is, and you come to me with some negative stuff, I know that this is not what I was being taught. Therefore, I need to go this way, right? Right. Because there's a level of perfect love. Because
perfection is
here's perfect love when those two become one. When we're on the same page and we can flow together.
Alignment.
That's perfect love. That's perfect alignment for them. Okay, whatever works for them, that's their level of perfection. It don't have to be what I define it as. It's what they. So I'm saying if they have a standard here and he's all over the place now, or she's all over the place now, then guess what? It's not perfect. It's not in alignment. An interesting thing that they always say Go back to blackdemographics.com. Men cheat. Men are cheaters. All men are dogs.
We know that's not true.
But they still say it. Why?
Well, who is putting the stuff on black? Then you got to look at who's putting the content in black demographics. You got to watch your. First and foremost, you need to not trust the information that you get that everybody's just putting out there with these statistics.
But I'm saying you don't have to trust the statistics.
Hold on one second.
Okay. If you go into blackdemographics.com, this is one of the statistics that Kevin quoted often. 28% of men report that they cheat or cheat in relationships, right? 24% of women reported cheating, right? And I always think, it goes back to a biblical thing when they talk about they brought this woman to Jesus who was caught in the very act of adultery. And they wanted him to say, well, what should we do with her? Right? And he said, he who is without sin cast the first stone.
Right.
But my question has always been, if they caught her in the very act, where's the man?
Well, they didn't do anything.
So now if you say if men cheat, who are the cheating women? Women. Right? So now here's the interesting thing. There are 2 million more women than there are men. So if all the black men and women were to get married, there would still be 2 million more women, right? Out here. So now, if you say 24% women cheat, on average, isn't it more women cheating than men?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
So why do they always say men cheat, men cheat? No, they can't cheat by themselves, baby.
That's just old conversation. People have always said that.
Oh, men is
dog. When I was a little girl, they were saying that.
If you know the man is dog, why are you having sex with him?
It's like
why you gonna have his baby?
I think it's a way, that some women can kind of. I don't know. I think it's like one of those things that people old wives' tale that somebody told, and they keep saying.
This is what they do too. When they see you happy with your man, they want to put a bug in your ear, your girls, because now you're gonna start looking at him sideways. Because I get accused of.
My best friend did that to me for years.
And then you start looking at and questioning your man. He said, men cheat. All men do is cheat. Look at it. And now you looking for something that ain't there. You questioning him, and he's like, whoa, where's this coming from? I got to pay for what he did and he did to her because she's in your ear. That's where a lot of the problem come in. And then the very one who's telling you men cheat, she the one that wants your man. And you don't even know that.
That has happened. It didn't happen to me, but that whole listening to your friends and getting.
So why we listen to our friends when it comes to hair and nails? I remember a song by Alexander O'Neal.
Cute.
Alexander O'Neal said, "You are fake."
You're fake.
Yeah. And everyone was dancing to it. We don't care about that stuff. Men don't care about your money. We don't.
Well,
you don't care about your money because you know why I don't care about my wife's money? Because I don't get to spend it. And
then you have to look at
go into
what when you call a man, because again, if you having these young men
with a male, there's a difference between a male and a man.
Right, a lot of males, they looking for the money.
Males are. Right? Just like
they looking for somebody to take care of them. They looking for somebody
that can. Chris Rock did a special. His comedy special. He talked about the difference between a nigga and a black person. I said the intro. I did. I apologize.
I'm sorry.
But that was Chris Rock, and there is a difference. And a lot of times we don't want to differentiate between things, and we really need to for separation's sake, because look, there are a lot of good men out there, and a lot of them are scared to get married. They have a lot of fear when it comes to marriage. But that don't mean if you call them up, they won't have sex with you. I got a friend right now. Sex and marriage are not this. They don't. They're not inclusive anymore.
I mean, once you get married, you want to have sex, but you can have sex without marriage.
But I think you should have a conversation first.
Absolutely.
A lot of times we're not having a conversation. We're having Netflix and chill.
Anybody asks you to chill, they want sex.
That's all it is. I didn't realize that.
You did?
I had no clue. And then you know what else I didn't realize too? I learned this. That if you ask a young lady out, this was before I got married, before I got married, you ask this young lady out, she think you want to have sex with her.
or she evaluates whether or not she's going to go out with you if she wants to have sex with you.
Right, because you said that before. We control the sex.
Yeah,
in the relationship.
but she didn't even know or even ask what my intentions were. It was based on what she assessed me as, or what she thought she could get from me, not what I was trying to present to her. And it was a job. It wasn't anything physical or natural. I would write it out to one. So
well, you know what happens with that, and I heard this so many times.
And I did it that way because of where she worked at. I didn't want to have a conversation with her in the building. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would have a conversation outside. Okay, if she didn't want to do it, great. She ended up coming in filling her application 6 months later, but I didn't. That's as far as it went.
And you know, in a case like that, I know for me, you know, growing up, I had this phobia for a long time, thinking that every guy that talked to me was really trying to get something from me.
Yeah.
So I stayed away from them, you know, because every time you spoke to me, you see me in the gym, you see me doing this, you know, it's like so where did that come from? For me, you know, when I thought about it as I got older, why was I thinking every guy that said hi to me, it was based on my insecurities.
Your past.
Because I felt like, and how I was, my fear, my past, how I was raised, you know, my insecurity with my own body. Like, you wouldn't want me because I don't have X, Y, and Z, so therefore you must be coming for sex, which was a good thing that I had that thought, because I, you know, avoided a whole lot of stuff.
But you know,
but the problem with that was not understand. If I had never come to the understanding that it was not about, I did know that a lot of men, because my male cousins told me, yeah, truth be told, they do want to do that too, but you have more value than that, so you don't have to give in to that just because that's what they want.
The boundaries up
and now
front.
I was able
to
establish
have a conversation up front.
Right.
And women need to be taught how to do that.
I need to work.
You know,
on that.
they need to be taught how to do that because it's difficult. And now, look, I'm 59. Wow, 59. Up until I hit my 40s, if I spoke to a woman in Richmond, Virginia, I would get this. If I spoke to another woman and she said, "Hey, how you doing?" I say, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "You're not from Richmond, are you?" She said, "Yeah, how you doing?" From Richmond women. Oh. I don't want nothing
because they saw you on social, saw you
I'm talking about from 18 on up. Oh no, that's the tradition they have never taught. Now, lately, it's gotten a little better, but most of the women who will even say hi, even in the bank, the lady, she was coming out, I was going in, she said, "Hi, how you doing?" I said, "Hey, how you doing?" She said, "You're not from Richmond." She said, "No." Still to this day. I don't want anything from you just because, and Kevin had a show about a woman said, "Why should I smile?" She didn't think she should even smile at a man. Every man that speaks to you don't want you.
Right, but you know what? The thing about it is there's so many different people in the world. The challenge I have when we talk about women do this and women do that is when you look at percentages, it's not the larger percentage. It's not even
saying all,
but there's a
lot of percentage.
So how do we navigate? I know you said Kevin Samuels, and I would have to agree. I do agree that he added to the conversation that we had. Okay. He added to it, even with his divisive. His way to me was also divisive.
In your opinion.
However, now that we have that, this platform out here, what do you think we need to do?
What do we need to do?
Yeah.
It goes back to quadrants of mental health. I think that a lot of people need mental health services. They need a counselor. In fact, I'm working with a young lady. I haven't seen her in a while, but I'm counseling her. She wants to get married. She's 27 years old. She's overweight. She's losing weight. She changed her diet. She's relearning. I said, okay, you need to read some books. Because, men like to have conversations too. We might not like to talk a lot. But if I'm interested in X, Y, Z, you can talk to me about X, Y, Z, that's attractive to me. But if you can't talk to me nothing about anything but let's watch Lifetime. Let's watch this romantic movie. I don't have time for that.
But you know what
But
I'm
you can
finding?
talk to me about this right here because I like this, and you have some knowledge on that, or you bring some financial knowledge to the table. I'm interested in you because that helps me to be better.
But that's you. You have to
No,
keep that in
I'm just saying,
mind.
I'm just saying the average man.
But
I
you're
consider
not.
myself to be the average man.
But AJ,
You
you're
could
a certain age. You're a man of a certain age
So I'm the average
also.
man.
I don't
You
know
consider
in
me to be
today's
average?
society if I would consider you to be average.
Really?
Because you have lived a life that has afforded you learning some things, some techniques.
I read. I
We
study.
have some men, young men right now, that are not where you are yet.
They're not supposed to be.
Okay, so therefore, I wouldn't consider you the average. I think you're slightly above average in the fact that you have acquired some things that the average, you could be in the average, but you're more on that side of it. Because I know some young men right now who want to have the conversations too. Like they like to read, they like because I talk. I know some young ladies who are like, I ain't trying to. I don't know why I gotta know about that. Why I gotta do
I
this?
was in a date women wouldn't read. When I was out there dating after I'm married,
Mm-hmm.
having problems in marriage, I said, okay, this is on my list now.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't read, I don't deal with it.
So it goes back to
I can still be your
teaching.
friend though.
Yeah, it goes back and being the friend. You know, you say that to a girl. Some girls,
I'll
it's
put
like
you in the friend zone just like you put me in the
put in
friend
the
zone.
friend zone, and they get stuck in that friend zone.
And they in the friend zone. God bless you.
So,
I'm a good friend.
I thank you for raising the point that I really need to talk more to women in general.
Women in general.
Because I look at, you
Purple hair, blue hair, pink hair. Imagine me taking that to a dinner party. With
well,
my
it all
friends,
depends on where you
with
go.
my boy.
Certain things, it's kind of like it's kind of like when I was in my teens. If my mom dressed the way I dressed, like Cindy Lauper, Boy George, as a youth, high school.
Okay, but
when I went to college, I wasn't doing that. But we live in a society now where anything goes pretty much, and so it's unfortunate that you might disagree with it, but that's where we are. So we have to learn how to function in that.
I choose not to participate.
Well, you've got kids. You're gonna have grandkids.
That's why I teach them. My job.
So you're participating in it by teaching.
To watch and to
we have
observe
to be,
and beware.
Exactly. So you have to
learn
know
how to see the devil for what the devil is.
You have to be in it in order to be able to have the conversations with them, to give them the conversation they need to steer them away from certain things, or steer them, more importantly, toward better behavior. Not away, but toward better outcomes.
I'm looking at the better outcomes that they can gain and teaching them the benefit of doing it this way versus doing what you want to do because that's how you feel. Because you're going to feel this way today, and 10 years from now, you might feel a certain another way. But then again, you got all that mess out there that's on social media.
And you got to, but don't negate feelings.
Like Kevin Hart.
But do you understand that in order to be able to work with them, you got to understand how they feel?
See, first to understand. That's why I asked my daughter
how she feels, and help her to understand why she feels. Where it comes from. Not to say you don't need to be feeling it.
I need to understand why you feel that way. But then in turn, then I have to look at, okay, so how can we move this ball a little closer to doing the right thing versus just doing because that's how I feel.
So you can have that.
Because you feel like I don't want a man now. I don't want to have children. I don't want that, now. But what are you doing to improve yourself?
And why do you feel that way? Why do you feel you don't need a man? That's the question I want to ask. The question that I'm going to put out there. I'll put that question out there. Women.
Because most women don't understand the purpose of a man. You know what they want? You know what I found that women want? They want a man that's going to follow in their footsteps. They want an alpha male. Most of them want an alpha, but then they want him to have beta tendencies. But then once they have beta tendencies, they're not going to respect him. But they want an alpha male, but then a beta man is going to do what you say when you say the way you say. Okay, honey, let's watch this movie. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit there and watch 10 movies. You might get one out of me every now and then, but to sit there and just for hours watch romance, I just can't do it because it's not real.
Okay, so do you agree that not only does the woman need to make decisions including what the man wants, the man needs to make decisions including what the woman wants as well?
Well, here's the thing.
You don't think you need to do that?
Here's the thing.
I'm not saying you got to watch all the romance shows.
I'm gonna answer the question with I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a Bible, okay, Christian, and my part of what I've learned as far as the role of a husband, okay, role of the man in the household. He is to provide, protect, teach, instruct, and cultivate. Most people get stuck on provide. But there are three other things that need to go on in the household in order for him to fulfill his role. And he can do those things. Even if there's contention between you and I, he can still cultivate relationships in the home and teach children to value people and value networking and learning things. There's a lot of things that can go on. But if you think that all you have to do is bring home the bacon, so to speak, because of this song, no romance without finance, right? So as long as I bring home the money, I should get some. No, I have to bring more to the table.
Okay, so he does have to do more.
So I need to cultivate relationships. So part of cultivating a relationship is we're going to watch this movie, but also we're going to eat this food. We're going to eat this food, but we're going to take a walk. We're going to go to the gym. See? So that's balance. You have to bring balance to relationships.
Okay, all right.
And it takes time to bring balance sometimes, especially if a person's been this way for 20 years.
Now, you're talking about married life.
I'm talking about me as a man.
Before married life.
Here's
before
the thing.
married life, what do you think
but I'm different than
men
most
need
men.
to do?
Yeah, I'm different than most men. I know that. I already know
You're not average.
I'm different.
Okay.
I'm definitely different. Because,
right.
see, for me, and Kevin used to say this on his show a lot, too, and I'm going to tell this to women. 6 months after a man has met you, he has determined in his heart whether or not you're marriage material, and whether he will marry you or not. It don't take a man long. It don't take me 10 years to decide if I want to marry you or not. If you're with a man for 2 years, 3 years, and he has not put a ring on it, he does not intend on putting a ring on it. And if you choose to stay there and hope and pray and wish, and God's going to bless you with this, it's not going to happen. I have cousins.
I have stories
9
of
years.
So it just...
Okay, that may happen every now and then. I'm touching on the average.
Or average. Nobody
My cousin was with 2 women for 9 years. He didn't marry neither one of them. I knew the first year he won't come marry. But as long as they were there and giving him sex, and he was good. But when they said, marry me or else, he said, bye. And that's why I told my friend, I told her after a year, I knew within 6 months, and I gave her the year, but I told her. And even after I told her, guess what? We remained friends, we remained close. But I told her. Then when she realized I was dating, I said, yeah, I'm dating. I told you, we're friends.
But
then she's like, oh my God, he's really serious. I was serious 2 years ago when I said.
Okay.
Is that my fault?
Well, I mean, you had the conversation up front. You knew what you wanted, and I think more women need to have those.
Men know that. 6 months. Trust me.
A lot of women know that too.
We know.
I know that. We still have conversation.
Exactly.
But
women give access to sex, and women determine if a child's going to be born.
And some women are willing to wait because they've been taught to do that. I know somebody that waited till they had a child together. That child was going to college.
I would never have had a child.
And they finally got married.
I would never have had a child.
And how many relationships did he have before then? Many. How many did she have? If she had one that was serious, I didn't know about it.
I never had a child with her. When I was a teenager, like I said, I'm different. I put 2 girls on birth control, and I still.
That's what I'm saying. You try to say you're average. You're not
I
average.
won't try to have no kids out here because I didn't want to have to take care of them. We going to the doctor. We going to Planned Parenthood. I'm gonna buy the pills. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna pay for the doctor's visit. I did all of that, and we still use condoms.
Well, you're not the average man, so it's a good thing
There's a
that
difference
you're.
between a man and a male.
Yeah, for
Big
sure.
difference.
And it's a good thing that your platform. You were comparing your platform to August Newman's back in the day. Your platform and Kevin Samuel's
Different.
platforms are different.
He
But
opened
as
the
you
door
said,
for conversation.
there's conversations that he opened the door of that you're going to walk through, and your goal is to understand and educate.
Always educate. And you know what else Kevin said? The most
Which is
you
good.
don't-
I am
you know
happy
what
with
else
that.
Kevin Samuel said that I don't think nobody heard of court? He talked about creating a website or a platform for such as what you want to do. Teach women that they can go to and learn. What if there's a platform, a website for men to go and learn how to be a man, and women can go and learn how to be a woman, and then we can learn how to be a family again. Because right now the family is being destroyed. The black family is being destroyed.
The erosion is present every day.
And you see more
It's
and more
worse and
women.
worse
I saw this. I don't know what it is. Remember that movie called The Players Club?
Yeah.
You got girls dressing like that and thinking that's okay.
But
And then they would tell you, "I want a husband." You're not gonna get a husband like that. You're gonna get a lot of D, but you're not gonna get a husband.
And you have to explain to them where that came from, though. See, going back to understanding.
Why would they think that that's not wifey?
Because society said it's cool.
But you can't never go by society.
Look,
and you know what it
well,
does.
the way
Beyonce
was used.
She was used.
She was used.
But you know what
to
was
make
done?
it so cool to the point that Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion can come out with a video straight up, and nobody look at it and say,
don't even question.
it's like, it's okay, they do what they do because, this is who she was before. I get all of that, and hey, do your thing, boo. But understand where it came from. Where it came from.
But you know what?
Because our bodies were sexualized long ago with the Hottentot, and they said it was a negative thing, and then they put it out there as a positive thing, but they still talking about you.
Right.
They still calling you a hoe, but they telling you it look good.
No.
It look good, girl. You look good. But now being a bitch is cool.
No, it's not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's out there.
It's not. That's a perception that we have. But you know what? I rode down Broad Street the other day. I rode down Broad Street the other day, and I'm looking at the number of hair places for black women, nail places for black women. I mean, certain industries, if black women was to stop buying hair, how much money would you save? How much money? See, I'm looking. Hold on. Let me finish. Because if you look at buying hair versus putting that money into an investment, if you saved $100 a month for 20 years at 18% interest, let's say, or 7% interest, you're going to be a millionaire.
Okay.
Right? But we're not teaching them those things because we got to look good, we got to smell good, we got to buy the designer this and designer that. I've known women spend $2,000 on hair, $400 on hair. I had a client one time, her daughter's getting her hair done every week. We're getting a new hairstyle every week. Braids and weaves and braids and weaves and back and forth. I'm saying, do you realize how much money you're spending? And I told her, I said, at 18, there's no man 18 years old that's going to be able to keep your daughter at that level. She's been in 2 relationships since 18, 33-year-old man, 34-year-old. Her mother set her up for that.
Well, yeah, and her mother set her up again.
I
just want y'all to understand that AJ is not saying that women are,
We're not teaching, we're not training. That's what I'm saying.
He's saying that we need to take control of what we're doing with our children,
take control of our image,
and be
control
involved.
Of our families,
and be involved.
Because
there's one thing for me to spend $120 for my granddaughter who just turned 17 to get her nails done. But at the same time,
every week.
But heck no. It was her birthday.
Every
You know,
week?
we went all
That's
out.
what I'm talking
But
about.
here is the other thing.
You
I'm
got nail
also
salons
showing her
everywhere.
that she needs to take X number of dollars out of all the money. I don't care if you get $2. A percentage of that goes into your savings.
10%.
So
I teach
it's
my kids
yeah, 10% is because that's the spiritual principle that I learned.
Right.
So, but she wants to like double it. But I'm trying to tell her don't get too. You know,
Just
it's
be
good,
consistent.
but
Consistent.
it's okay for me to take $120 to get her nails done
That's
one time, and they're gonna be messed up, you know, or whatever. But she's not getting that every week.
Exactly.
She's
I'm
not
talking
getting her
about
filling.
the nails and the
She's
toes
not. You know what I
done.
mean? It's not gonna happen.
You know, and then a lot of women
Not
who
even
do
with
that,
her own money. I'm not gonna let
the
her
women
do that.
who do that, they expect when I get a man, he is going to pay for that for me now.
Exactly, because I expected.
That's why
to,
they don't want
you
the.
know,
That's
but
why
yeah.
they don't want the average man or the $50,000 a year man because he can't afford that.
But see what you're
There's no
forgetting
way.
about. But you're forgetting about the woman that can afford to do it too, because they're in that group of being single after 35 too.
Right.
Because you got that group that said, I can pay my own rent, I
I'm a
can pay my own
PhD.
bills, you know, and
I
they
got
are
my master's
also
degree.
in the same boat. You got a master's
But they
degree,
want,
but
they
you're
want
in
the
the same
$100,000
boat.
man now
Right.
because they
That
know.
PhD ain't gonna get you that relationship.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. It won't get you a relationship.
It's all about how you value you and what
and
you
value relationship with others.
But you gotta value
Because see,
yourself
you
first.
got to. Self-care is very
Yes,
important because
right.
see, when we look at levels, you go from independent to interdependent.
Interdependent. Mm-hmm.
And people don't grow that way. Then what's above interdependency is synergy. Right? But if you don't grow through those levels and you stuck on Miss Independent, boss chick, I'm never gonna go around trying to call myself a boss. I'd be embarrassed to do that. I'm just being honest with you. I don't need that title.
It's just, but you know, the cuteness of all that stuff has translated into something. It's translated into a negative.
Yeah.
You know, just like all the words.
Now, if you call me a boss, it's one thing. I'm gonna say, "Oh, thank you," not a big deal. But I'm not gonna go around and say, "I'm a boss. I'm a boss." You would say, "Okay, he got ego." And it's to me, it's inflated masculinity on the woman's side. Now, I might step on your toes. A little bit. I'm not going to apologize for it, but I'm going to step on your toes. Now we got women getting all these tattoos, sleeves, all on their back. Hold on. Why are you trying to be a man?
You think tattoos about masculinity?
Yes.
I think it's about covering up something that has a lot more to do with self-awareness. I don't think it's about being men. Because I know a lot of feminine women who are not trying to be men.
I don't know a lot of feminine women who have that.
Oh, okay. So there again, you can't group everything in a category and leave it out there like that.
I'm just saying when you
that's not a masculine
when you go out there, but it is. Sailors used to do that. At one time, the only people that had tattoos were sailors, were men. Now women are getting all over their body. It's not attractive.
But here's the thing.
It's not attractive.
What do you call it?
To the average man.
The henna tattoos. Henna tattoos have been around forever. Henna tattoos. It started in Egypt. Henna tattoo. They do it in India. A lot of the women in India have tattoos. They use henna to create that. It's a symbol for their spiritual. How big or what?
Are they all down there? All on
they
their
get them
breasts,
on their
all
face. They have them on their face. That's been something that's a cultural thing.
Cultural.
Okay, so
now
you can't say that it's that in here they reappropriate. Well, some women may do it because they think it makes them look harder. But making them look hard goes back to what I said. Their self-image. It's not necessarily about being a man. It's about something on the inside of them is not okay with something else. Now, you're not stepping on my toes, but I do have a tattoo. I have a symbol on my back for balance. It's just a little symbol. No, it's okay. But people have seen it. It was my thing on my page for a long time. So the whole thing about it for me, my grandmother said, that was sacrilege. That women shouldn't be putting that on your body. So for some of us, it goes back to religious, cultural practices. Right. But the henna tattoos have been around for a long time. So I just have to say that it's not masculine.
That's in the Hindu religion, correct? Most of the people, if it's in India, more than likely they're Hindu, correct?
Yeah, but now.
Okay.
It's
But
kind of
now-
tattoos.
But now
It's okay. It
it's
doesn't
okay.
matter.
Why?
I mean,
Because
I'm not
society
putting it
says
into a
it's okay.
spiritual. I mean, a
But I'm just saying, when it
religious
was
group.
done then, it was done for religious
They
reasons.
still do it.
Okay, and it was done
And
in
it's
Hindu
beautiful.
culture. But now, we're not talking about those tattoos.
You're talking about people,
I'm
women
talking
that
about
you know that
got
look like dudes with
steeds.
tattoos.
I mean, all the way down to right here.
Yeah,
on
that's
the arm.
that's a percentage of
So,
society, but it's not the
Then
whole
we got
percentage.
our whole leg done. Then we got our butt done. Then we got our breast done. Everything but the nipple. It's like,
But you know, some women get it on their legs to hide the fact that they have cellulite. Did you know that? It's to cover up something, and that's my whole point.
my whole point
Something
is,
that they're covering up.
instead of doing a cover-up thing, you can look in the mirror. Like I look in the mirror and I say, okay, I need to work on my gut. I'm gonna work on it.
I'm gonna get a tattoo of a
I'm
flat
not gonna
stomach.
get a tattoo.
I'm gonna get a tattoo.
I'm not gonna
of
go and get a tattoo
six-pack.
of a six-pack. I could
That's
do
what-
that.
Don't
I
be
could
hating
afford
on
that.
me. You stepping on my toes.
You know
man.
what I'm saying? I'm not gonna get I'm not gonna get a
Right.
tattoo of calf muscle to
Yeah.
make it. I'm not faking it. I'm gonna put the work
It's
in.
gonna mean you wanna.
It's gonna mean so. It's gonna have more value to
Okay.
me to know that I work for it.
Yeah. So.
You know, and a
But
lot
I
of
mean,
people
people
don't
don't
want to
have
work. They
their
don't want
own-
to put the work in anymore.
And some people do it because they're following a trend. They're following
Goes
what
back to my
everybody else
friend.
is doing.
My friend, they want to
What
be
else is
popular.
doing?
So that's why a lot of girls don't want guys because their friends can't get guys. They're going to tell you, you don't want one of them. Now we're going to be together. Okay, you end up buying a house together with your girlfriend. Y'all both with dogs. What Kevin would say, buy a dog. And
I see a lot of guys with dogs in their
I
relationship.
know. But you know what? You know what's a growing trend? And I've been watching videos on YouTube and talking to more people about it. Homeless women. That was something that wasn't heard of 20, 30 years ago. At any age. Homeless
Well, you know,
women.
Homeless women, there's a lot of mental illness issues in so many ways. One of the things I learned a few years ago is that women who were homeless wouldn't go to homeless shelters. They wouldn't let you know because a lot of rapes occurred. They wouldn't even go to shelters with their kids.
Yeah.
But now it's like,
They got 10 cities.
they've always been out there, but they've been hidden because they were dealing with a lot more abuses. But then society has changed. A lot of the men are doing other things. A lot of the women, the rent's going up, and women are everybody. If you
You're
don't
not
have a
making enough
roommate,
money.
you might be struggling.
Exactly. You're not making enough money.
Yeah.
And you're struggling. I mean, a lot of more homeless people out there living in hotels.
Yeah. Oh my
They
gosh.
got
That
families right
I
now living in hotels.
realize how many people, even through social services, because a lot of the project communities are being torn down.
Yep.
And they supposedly creating homes for people, but they're putting them in these hotels. They're buying.
They're
The
basically
state
becoming homeless.
and cities are putting them in hotels, and then put them right back in that same environment that they have.
So now they're in a homeless situation.
Whew, that's a whole nother conversation.
And yeah, it's a growing one because what happens is because we don't value family, because we don't value relationship with each other like we did in the 20s, the 30s, or the 1900s. Let's go back to right after slavery. We were married. Families were together. You had generations. I mean, you had 12, 13, 14 kids. On my dad's side, it was 8. On mom's side, it was 6. And now we have it 1 and 2s. And then if something happens to that one, you don't have nobody to look after you when you get older.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you might end up on the streets.
Exactly.
And people are not thinking like that. That's
Well,
a big
trust me, I'm
problem in
thinking
China.
about that because I don't have.
It's a big problem in China now.
I have a sister. We didn't grow up together, but I have a sister. But I've always thought about me being an only child because I grew up as an only child.
Yeah.
And when I had my kids and was married, my whole thing was, okay, when I get older, who's gonna be there? Who's gonna be there? So now that I am older,
60 years old, 65 years old, it's like, and the clock is ticking.
yeah, it is ticking.
And
so
the
here's
clock
the
is not your
thing.
friend.
And here's the thing. It
Even the
behooved
biological
me to help my children to be foundationally prepared for
Right.
the world and doing what they need
Cultivate the
to
relationship.
cultivate the relationship. So as I age,
Right.
they
They
would be
will
there to
want
assist
to
me.
be there.
But also, I'm there to still assist them.
Exactly.
Because I know a lot of people my age, because right now I am helping my daughter.
Right.
You know, I'm helping
Yeah.
Stephanie. And so somebody made this little comment. It was like, how does it feel to be a living nanny? And I was like, and they said it in a negative way, but I started laughing. I was like, that's beautiful because I'm able to parent my daughter, parent my grandkids, help the dynamic of her married life and her family so that we can continue to grow. That's what we're supposed to do. This is what families do. It's not about, oh, I'm a grandma now, so I got my life to live. I ain't got time for you.
No.
Now, I know some people that do that.
They do that. That's not right.
And then when they get sick,
yes,
they want them grandkids. They want to have that relationship. But now you're trying to build something from a eroded place because you weren't there in their lives. You didn't cultivate all along. So now you're 50, 60 years old trying to have a relationship with this young person who has pink hair.
Got their own life.
Got their own life.
They think they're supposed to live their life to do what they
want.
And
you owe them.
You owe them something.
Because you left them out there, so they being taught that you owe them something because of the entitlement piece that happens.
That's exactly what gets created when older women don't teach younger.
And we need to do better.
Because when you teach a woman how to be a woman, the reciprocating factor of that is you really hold the man accountable to be the man.
You do.
Because see, the man may be the head, but the woman is the neck.
Right.
And without the neck, the man can't function. Right?
For those of you that
a lot of women don't understand that. You have influence in the relationship, but if you don't know how to use that influence,
and it's not sexual. You cannot beat a man into submission just by thinking you're gonna put good sex on him.
If you put good sex on him,
there's a lot of good sex
he can
out
get
there.
good sex anyway.
So
my
that
brother
is not
used to
gonna
tell
be
me
it.
all the time. He said, I can pay for that.
Yeah, they want. It's like a child. A child wants discipline. They want structure. Men want that. They don't want somebody that's going to be like an alpha like them or want to be like them, but they help me.
Right. Let me ask you a question.
Help
me.
If you know, if you want to get what you want to get from that man, trust me. Help him.
Because if you help me,
and you can get anything you want. And you may not have to do anything, but just help them to get. Just be.
Just
right.
be there for me.
Yeah.
Look, my wife and I'm not saying this to brag on any stretch of imagination. I gave my wife $1,000. I felt good doing that for her. This is for you, baby. Because of what? Because she helped me. You see what I'm saying? She was like surprised. No one's ever done this for me before. You help me, I'm going to give it to you. That's the reciprocating part of it. And that goes back to a word that most women don't understand and they hate. What's that word?
Submission. I know.
But that word is so powerful. Because when you understand your
understand
position,
the word and you don't have to be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. It's a strong position.
It's a strong
position. A position of power, actually.
When you understand what submission is, because now I know that if I say we need to go right, I might say, okay. Even if she don't agree sometimes, she might say, okay. And then it's like, if we mess up, you know what, okay, how are we going to fix it? That's somebody I know got my back. But if I get gang all the time, no matter what I say, I'm saying, okay, I need to stay away from it. So, and I learned submission from dealing with a man. A man who, I'm going to tell you the scenario. At this TV studio, I know TV production, right? I know how to work camera. But no matter what I said, suggested, he said, no, do it this way. No, do it this way. So I said, you know what, Lord, what do I need to do? So I would go to him and say, Gene, his name was Eugene. You want me to do this? You want me to do this? You said, do that. I said, okay. Gene, you want me to do this? You want me to do this? You said, do that. I said, okay. Gene, should I do this, this, or this? Which one do you want me to do first? He said, do it. I said, okay. Right? I could have did it my way, and it would look good. I did it. You know what he started saying? What do you think? Right? When he started saying it took him 3 months to get to that point where he would say, what do you think, AJ? 6 months in, you know what he would tell people? Go ask AJ. Talk to AJ. I had to earn that from him. Because he knew if he said ABC, AJ would say, okay, I'm not going to argue with him. That's his show. Women don't understand. I was able to get in a position of power with him, right? Because of me showing him, demonstrating I was willing to submit. I put my ego aside. It ain't about me. It ain't about what I think. What do you need me to do?
Yeah, and you know, that's a
that's a
principle
hard
that men
place for
and
women.
women.
We submit to our bosses.
But see, that goes back to the
You know
whole
my wife
idea.
told
You're
me?
willing to work for somebody else,
Listen, when
but
he
not to do
paying-
it for yourself.
listen,
You know
when
what
he
I'm saying?
paying-
So, I mean, that's
I
just...
was told that. Oh, he paying me. I said, but you know,
Yeah.
I'll give you more than
Submission
this
is
man
a
will do.
position of power.
It is.
It's a position
It
of power.
is. I learned that.
Warriors submit.
You have to.
It's a power
You
of
have to.
courage of a warrior.
You have to be able to follow, even as a leader. That's submission.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep,
for the
so-
greater good. You know, it's not about you. You know, and one of the things that I promote a lot, even on this program, is the fact that, you know, you got men's programs, you got women's programs, you got Father's Day, you got Mother's Day. I like to promote family. I like to promote the unity, people coming together and value a relationship with one another and saying that we need each other.
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand we need to have sometimes the difficult conversation, because if you notice, when we first started, we were here, and now we're here.
I think we're still here.
I see a difference in our demeanor and our conversation.
I got hot. You know, that has happened.
Hey,
you know, hey,
it's a
spring
difference.
shower, summer shower, whatever.
It's a difference, but because of what? The conversation.
And the thing about conversation, it doesn't have to be here or there. You just have to have it and be respectful.
Have the conversation.
Just have the conversation, and we're not always going to agree.
We can agree to disagree sometimes, but at least it's about understanding.
Yeah.
Right. So if you ask me, if we have a conversation, that's why I tell parents to teach. Teach your children what love is. Don't just say you need to love me or you need to respect me. Ask them what do they think. Because if I know what respect means to you or what love means to you, when I come in your presence, when I think love, I say, okay, I know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But I won't know that unless I ask the question. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that you feel the same way I do.
About love.
About respect, about integrity, about whatever. About being respectful to a man.
Right.
You know, because a lot of women feel as though they can do this and they can do that anytime they want to. And they get in your face, they push you, they smack you, and they dare you to hit them. And then when you do hit them, oh, it's domestic violence, or he hit me.
Yeah,
what have you done to contribute to that?
I saw a YouTube video. My granddaughter watches the show. It's The Prince family. I absolutely love the concept of Tim the Prince. He created this thing. He and his wife. She's 25. They have 4 kids, I think. But they had an episode where they were simulating the argument they were having, arguing in front of the kids. And toward the end of it, you know, she was getting all mad and everything. And she shoved him and was pushing on him to get out of her way. He didn't hit her back or anything. He didn't put his hands on her.
He would have been wrong.
He would have been wrong. But they resolved it in apologizing to the kids for what they did. He apologized for what he did and everything. She didn't really apologize for what she did, nor did she apologize for putting her hands on him. Now my granddaughter's watching this, right? But she shoved him. She went straight berserk.
Yeah. What are you teaching?
What he did was apologize for arguing in front of them, but they didn't address what I saw, which was she physically put her hands on him.
Right.
That's never okay for you to do to anyone. And so, you know, I was like sitting there with my friend, so I had to talk to her about it. Again, educating, teaching. Because I've always watched what they watch, try to watch what they watch so I can have conversation. TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm not on there except to promote, you know, stuff that I do. But I'm not trying to be my 6-year-old granddaughter or my 17-year-old, she's not 17-year-old granddaughter. But I do need to see what she's watching and understand the content that's coming to her so she can get a balance. Because we talked about that, balance and alignment. Because you're going to expose them to all of that over there. Give them some good stuff too. You know, I'm not going to say she can't watch the show, but we're going to have a conversation about what you watch.
Right. What's your understanding?
Exactly.
You know, exactly. Because it's never, you know, domestic violence is never good, never should happen. But it happens a lot of times, and like you say, those subtle things, those unconscious things. She should have apologized. But a lot of times, that's one of the difficult things that I've found, I experienced for women to do is apologize.
And he did what he has been taught to do, which is, I'm apologizing because I argued in front of you. That wasn't even really the biggest issue. But
what do you saw was the biggest issue?
The biggest issue was she was coming at him about everything. You know, I'm tired of washing your clothes. You can wash your own clothes. He wanted a big 5-course meal. She was fixing noodles. She was like, I fix noodles for the kids. I'm going to fix noodles for you. He was like, I had noodles for lunch. Can you have something else for dinner?
Oh, wow.
You know, so they were having these little micro conversations about nothing. And then his biggest thing was apologizing for just having an argument in front of them. And I'm saying, the way y'all were arguing, the way y'all had more going on there.
Yeah, it was all about. They need
and
counsel.
Now she's 25, he's 30. So also I'm understanding that generation, they're not prepared for having a bigger conversation sometimes. Because the conversation, I used to say that to my kids, never saw me and their dad arguing with them. You know, we have stuff going on. But they never saw that because I never wanted them to experience that. However, putting my hands on them, you know, if you're doing all of that other stuff and, you know, and you're just going to apologize for the argument, you're going to have arguments. You're going to have disagreements.
What's the unconscious message that children learn from seeing that, being there, experiencing that emotionally, and then even people watching that? It's the unconscious message.
That is okay I'm mad at you right now, so it's okay for me to shove you. And then I can come back and say, you know, sorry for this conversation. No. Why would you put your hands on me, number one?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
I attended a meeting with an organization called SCARS that deals with domestic violence, right? And they were listing all of the characteristics, the subtleties of characteristics of an abusive relationship or violence within a relationship. And I checked most of the boxes myself. I said, you probably need to change some of your literature to include men as well. Because not only women that go through these, they have these experiences, there are men that go through these things too. And my thing is, when I was going through it was, I'm not going to jail for nobody. So I took some things, I dodged and, you know, ducked a lot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if I hit you, if I give you the same energy that you give me, they're going to lock me up. Because we know that the hand strength of a man is over 7 times more stronger than that of a woman. So if I was to just do that, I could leave a mark.
Young kids coming up, young girls.
And they want to fight me. They think you can't win. I told my wife all the time, I said, you know, because we play a lot. I said, you know, she be trying to muscle me. I said, baby, like, you sure you got me? You know? And I just show, you know, and I don't have to go real hard on her or anything like that. But it don't take much. For me, you know, and I'm saying women have to they need to be cognizant of that. That man, just because he's standing there and allowing you to do this, he's going to hurt you.
Yeah, standing there listening to you, just going off, you know, and it's counterproductive. But we all do it, so.
No, I disagree with that. I heard this joke, and I'm going to tell you this joke. You tell me if you think it's funny or not. This woman, she was having trouble with her husband, and he was escalating the argument. She said to the point where she felt that he was going to hit her. So the counselor told her, whenever you feel that a conversation going to try to rise, I want you to get a glass of water, put water in your mouth, and just swish it around. Just swish the water back and forth. All you need to is fast enough, just swish the water. So she did it. And she noticed that it worked. So every time we got into an argument, when I drank the water, the argument would just come back down. And it would just, sometimes it was working so much. He said, so what is the secret? The water. How is that? He said, no, what the water does, it helps you to keep your mouth quiet.
Yeah, it does.
It didn't even dawn on her. That's all she needed to do sometimes, was just be quiet, let him rant, and then he can walk off. Because he ain't got but so many words to use a day. You know?
So
And my wife, I told my wife that joke, she didn't think it was funny, but that worked.
De-escalating.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might need to put the word in your mouth and just don't say anything, because there are no conversation emergencies except for shortness of breath and bleeding. Other than that, if I'm frustrated, I need to wait and have a conversation with you. But women, sometimes when we get frustrated and our brain is doing this right here, and then your brain is doing this right here, we're not listening to one another.
So just put some water in your
Put
mouth.
some water in your mouth and
that's
swish it
good.
around.
Swish it around.
You know?
That's good. I like that. I've been having to recommend that.
It works. I
So-
think it will work, because sometimes, when I used to get my lectures, I would just sit there and just listen.
Yeah, I just
I
listen.
could count my watch in a lecture. I'm going to get this one. You know?
It's all something that's learned. So if you haven't learned these things, we do.
That's why therapy is important within the black community. I don't think you should get in therapy for 20 years, 30 years. But if you get therapy that's trauma focused, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We help people and parents understand trauma, understand how the brain works, how the body works, how it works together, all mechanisms of you. That's why self-care is so important. Then you can bring yourself down and you can heal yourself. But it starts with what? You practicing self-care. Your mind, your body, your spirit, and your finances working on you. So it's unfortunate, like we said before earlier with Kevin dying, but I see a lot more people talking about these issues more often. And sometimes it goes here, but sometimes it needs to go there to let the air out. There's nothing wrong with that. Letting the air out, and then you can come back later and your perspective may change. But you said something earlier that I kind of disagree on. But I think that you should use facts and data.
That's only important if you're trying to show.
More so than me just relying on my feelings or my own individual anecdotal experiences.
I'm not saying facts and data don't have a place, but when you start spouting, 20% of the population does this percent of the population.
And then you say, well, where are you getting your data from?
And then you can say, well, you got to say where you get your data from. Who are these women that you're talking to? Where did they come from? What are their backgrounds? There's a whole lot that can be missing in that.
So you're saying that all of it can be...
it's subjective.
Right.
It's subjective.
Okay.
So I'm not saying it doesn't have value.
Exactly. Even in a place of subjectiveness, right? It still can have a basis of building or having a conversation. Whether we can't say all women do this or all men do
that. And I wasn't saying you had to use feelings as opposed to statistics. So let me clear that up. I didn't say that.
Example.
Go ahead.
They used to talk about how 90% of prisons are black men. Right? Which may be true. But that don't mean that 90% of black men are in jail. It just says we make up that prison population.
So
because we only make up 12%.
People manipulate statistics to work for what they want it to work for.
I agree with that.
So therefore, I'm not
but
saying...
when we hear things, we got to kind of hear the opposite side of things as well. You know what I'm saying?
Do your own research. I'm an advocate for independent research.
You can't just hear one aspect of it and not look at it from a different perspective as well. Because if we make up 90% of the prison, and we're only 12% of the population, that don't mean that 90% of our men are in jail. That means we make up a large percentage of the prison. The criminal justice system is flawed and it needs work.
So when you're taking statistical data, and people are using that to support a thought, a theory, a feeling, an idea, you just have to understand more about that data first. Because people can take statistics and use it, manipulate it to do whatever they want it to say. Independent research is all I'm saying. I would not, wouldn't advocate for people to
do independent research.
But that's part of why we end up being sheep. The sheep keep going and fall off the hill, fall in the valley. Right. We just fall right along.
But I'm just saying, when it comes to,
I'm not sheep and I'm not being hurt.
If you look at where the black demographics.com get their information from, you want to check your sources
Check
to
your
see if
sources.
they're credible sources. I get that, but also if the data can change within a 5-year period of time.
Absolutely.
It can change
So
within a 10-year period of time. But we can also look at trends and see the trends, because we know since the 60s that we're not getting married as often, black people, and we're not staying married.
you can just
as
look
often.
out your back
Okay,
door.
exactly.
Look in your
So
community.
if blackdemographics.com can give you the numbers that support that, then those numbers really, you know what? Yeah, I see this in my own world, but also now I have data to support that as well. I don't need to go back and do research on that again. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm not
You know,
saying do
because-
research on it again. I'm just saying
Because most
independent research means
look at the women
balance
now
your-
who are
don't just take
Right.
one person's perspective of one thing and say that is the only thing. You have to have a 360 view of everything. To me,
difficult, if not impossible, sometimes.
but it's not impossible. That's what I do.
That's a difficult, if not impossible, sometimes.
And it's not even difficult.
Now here's the thing.
I'm my own counter revolutionary because I think 360, and it can be kind of, like I said, I'm not average. I already know that, but I'm not the only one that does this either. So I'm not going to say that we don't have a larger percentage of the population who has the capability to look at things from a 360 view. I think we have a lot of people like me. Those are my statistics, and I'm gonna put that in black demographics. I'm gonna do my research. I'm going to send out a questionnaire. It's not. Trust me, there are a lot more people out there with a higher level of intellect than there are people out there that are trying to figure it out. We just understand that there's going to be a perspective or many perspectives that are out there. I'm not going to say you're wrong for what you think. I'm not going to say Kevin Samuels was wrong for creating this platform.
Nobody ever said he was wrong.
I'm not going to
the
say
data that he spouted.
I'm not going to say
they didn't like his presentation.
I'm not going to say there's people out there that loved everything that he put out there. There's also some people that didn't love it.
I loved everything he put out there.
So,
but nobody.
But
ever
everybody
said
has
that
a
he was
perspective.
wrong.
Everybody has a perspective. That's what I'm saying. 360 view. Everybody has a perspective. So I'm not going to negate this man's life or his platform. It just wasn't for me.
Did you notice that? All the comments people said, no one ever said that
I
he was wrong.
haven't really looked at all of that. But you haven't found
I listened
anybody
to
that said he
I've
was
never
wrong.
heard anyone say he was wrong. It was all more about presentation.
Or
disdain for him.
I'm going to look that up because I'm
him
curious to
or
see
him
more about
being
that.
gay. Or or
Being
him
gay.
being married twice. Oh yeah, they tried to accuse him of that too. He's been
All of that
married
is
twice.
so
But
irrelevant.
they never said the data that he was presenting was false. They never said when he lied. They always talked about his character, because he always talked about how women need to. What's the word?
Women need to. What?
But women tend to deflect. If he brought up this point right here, they would say, "Well, what about that?"
Oh, the woman that he was talking to.
Most of them on there. They would always. They wouldn't say, "Yes, that's true." This this might have happened. Okay, just like earlier we were talking about an 80-year-old woman who gets pregnant. It could happen, yeah, but it's not a normal situation. It's not always gonna. That's not the masses of people. But we do know statistically that 35 years old woman has reached the danger zone, but an 80-year-old man possibly could still continue to father children.
But one of the things that I haven't
So you would
noticed,
say, well, there could be an 80-year-old woman. It could be, but that's not as likely as an 80-year-old man still having enough semen to be a father of a child.
Well, one of the things that just came to mind, you know how when there's an incident in our communities, they always seem to find the person that looks like they're the most broken, the most, when there's like a shooting, say, it's a person that can't articulate things. There's always somebody that you'd be like, why is this person speaking? You haven't noticed that?
Sometimes.
A lot of times that's what the news media does. They perpetuate an image in the communities, right?
And that was one of Kevin's pet
So
peeves.
one of the things that I would like to see, and I'm going to do my own independent research.
Okay.
I want to take a look at the women that he had conversations with, because when you talk about women in general, the women in general that he was talking to, deflecting and doing all that stuff, those are not the women that I know. So I need to.
So
Yeah, I need to see. I'm going to look at that from that perspective, because my goal is to have the conversations with women. My goal has always been about women and girls and the work that I do. But keeping in mind the whole family. I focus here, but you got to pick a niche. You got to pick what area you think you could be the most effective in first to infiltrate.
It always needs to point to family.
Point to family, and I want to know.
You know, you can have a strong woman, but you can have a strong man, but that don't mean you can necessarily have a strong family.
No, because you can't.
Exactly. That's my point. That is my point right there. And one of the things Kevin talked about repeatedly was valuing family and bringing people together. But you, woman who is 37-year-old with 4 kids, you want a high-value man, and you just divorced your husband because you weren't happy. He said, why would you want that guy? And 99 other women want him too. What are you going to offer him? To be the stepfather to your kid?
Yeah, I think I heard.
Right. And they saw nothing wrong with that.
It's going to be interesting to take a look at, some more, because I know one of the things that you, like you said,
watch
is
the
open.
video.
And we're going to continue having conversations. It was really good chatting with you on your show today. And
it's been 2 hours.
It has been 2 hours, and I got to catch a flight a little bit. But here's the thing: it's really, I want us to continue having these conversations
on air and off air.
Yeah.
We're gonna continue. I may bring somebody else on and have a different perspective on it, but my thing is, we open the door for a lot of conversations. I'm here. I'm going to always promote family. I'm going to bring it to the family, because wife, if you want to be a wife, you got to be right. If you want to be a husband, you got to be right.
You got to know what right is.
Exactly. Exactly. Because a lot of times, and it's interesting to me when you meet women that say they don't care what he wants in a wife, but he should just accept it. Okay, so how was that? And I'll give you an example. The young lady I was talking about told her 3 times, best friends, and talking to her, she really expected me to change my mind.
Well, it didn't happen, because you are married to someone else right now, and
but it was like, I said, "Are you serious?" Never once said, "What do you want? What do you need? What do you value in a relationship?" Accept me for who I am. If you can't accept me, keep it moving. I said, "Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that." We never argued.
Who are you?
Yeah.
That's what I.
And I'm looking at. I always tell my sons this now. If you have any male children, I'll tell you this: if you want to know what you're getting, spend time with the mother. You really want to know what type of woman you have, spend time with the mother. She'll show you everything. Let's watch. You heard this? I learned a lot from this. Watch your mom. Her mom treats men. Her mom treats dad. Her mom treats you. He should be. He should be.
I love my son-in-law. His mom did a great job with him.
Exactly. And I promise you, I already know this. It didn't take them long either, did it?
Oh.
Did it take them long? Did it take them years of being together?
No, they've been together 12 years.
Exactly.
12 years. Together in college.
Exactly.
And trust.
That's
ups and downs.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. But you know what?
And with family support around them.
Black children, black girls especially are taught, go to school, get that education, because something might happen. No, white families are going to school, get an education, and get married. And we're waiting till we're 30, 35 to do it. Well, you can do it at 22, 23, 24. When you wait to 35, you're at high risk. I would be scared. I mean, the lady I was dating at the time, she was 39. We could have talked about I don't know. possibility of
I
one.
told you what my philosophy
Or I could say,
is.
let's adopt. No, I didn't want
We
it.
can build an empire together. You can have all the things you want. Just what we have in the lead, but that's okay. We can come to an agreement.
Exactly.
But again,
That's
I'm not average.
You're not average. And I was told I wasn't. But
So,
thank everybody for
yes.
being here on Quadrants of Mental Health. I'm your host, AJ. This has been a very interesting show. We may do this type of programming again. We'll see what type of responses we get from the community. If you like it, let us know. Please like and subscribe. And remember, when you like and subscribe, it helps the algorithm. Did I say it right?
Algorithm?
Yeah, we need to get those numbers up. Kevin used to, he would stop his show when the numbers were low. So, you know, I'm not trying to build that fast or that hard. I want people to see value in what we create and what we put together, and just share it with as many people and ask them to subscribe, okay? Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Quadrants of Mental Health. God bless. I got my hand slapped, y'all. I want to say thank you, Jenise, for being my special guest today. I did not thank her, and I was going to say, just put it in text. We do it, editing, post-production, whatever. But we're doing it now. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for participating. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for sharing. I appreciate you. And thank you for being the executive producer of my show and putting it all together, because AJ just sits in front of the mic. That's it. Okay, she does everything else. So if you like what we're seeing, please let her know. The production, the background, the lighting, the sound, everything is all Jenise. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. God bless you.
That was overkill.
It wasn't overkill.
Thank
Keep
you.
it in, too.
We got to keep it going.
All right.
All right.